Following the revolution in Tsarist Russia in 1917, there was anarchy across the entire territory of Russia, as well as in Artsakh. On the 23rd of December 1917, representatives of all the political parties of Artsakh convened a meeting in the city of Shushi, the administrative center of Artsakh. In order to ensure the protection of the Armenians of Artsakh from any possible hostile actions by the Turks, as well as to put an end to the existing anarchy, it was unanimously decided during the meeting to establish an integrated body composed of representatives, elected by all the various political parties. The next day, on December 24th, the representatives elected by the political parties of Artsakh convened a meeting in Shushi, which was called the Inter-Party Bureau. Additionally, local bodies of government were also established. The supreme governing body of the Armenians of Artsakh, the Inter-Party Bureau, exercised the powers of both the legislative and executive branches of government. On May 25, 1918, Turkish Army Commander Lieutenant General Nuri Pasha, who was the younger brother of Enver Pasha, notorious as one of the perpetrators of the Armenian genocide, formed the Caucasian Islamic Army in Ganja, consisting of 5,000 soldiers from the Ottoman Regular Army, irregular Transcaucasian Tatar troops, and a small number of Dagestanis. On May 26, 1918, the Transcaucasian Sejm announced its dissolution. 2 days later, on May 28th, the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan declared its independence in Tbilisi, Georgia. On June 4th, the government of the newly established Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan signed a friendship and cooperation treaty in Batumi with the government of Ottoman Turkey, which stated that if necessary, the Ottoman imperial government would be obliged to provide military assistance to the government of the Republic of Azerbaijan. With the aim of taking control of their future destiny, on July 22, 1918, the Armenians of Artsakh convened their first Congress in Shushi. The Congress elected the People's Government of Artsakh, consisting of 7 members, and was to govern the country until Artsakh joined the Republic of Armenia, which declared its independence on May 28, 1918. The Congress, among a number of other decisions, also adopted a decision specifying that Artsakh was a part of the Republic of Armenia, and even if Artsakh was cut off from the Republic of Armenia due to whatever circumstances, every effort would be made to join Armenia. This is evidenced by official communiques from the Information Bureau at the Armenian diplomatic mission in Georgia. The document stated that Karabakh, which is not willing to be included within the state borders of Azerbaijan, has declared its independence. Early in September 1918, the capture of Baku by the Islamic Army of the Caucasus under the command of Nuri Pasha was followed by the massacre of over 30,000 Armenians. After the capture of Baku, Nuri Pasha concentrated the Islamic Army of the Caucasus near the borders of Artsakh. On September 4, 1918, the Turkish command sent an ultimatum to the People's Government of Artsakh, ordering them to lay down their arms within 5 days, allow Turkish troops to enter Shushi, and recognize the government of Azerbaijan. In response to the ultimatum, the Second Congress of the Armenians of Artsakh was convened in Shushi on September 8th, with the participation of 92 deputies elected by the people of Artsakh and the 9 members of the People's Government. They discussed the ultimatum, and the Congress refused to comply with the Turks' demand. On September 18, 1918, the government of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, which was established in Ganja, moved from Ganja to Baku. The government of the newly formed Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, now operating in Baku, relying on the military support of the Islamic Army of the Caucasus under the command of Nuri Pasha, began to make bold demands to Artsakh, maintaining that Artsakh is an integral part of Azerbaijan and that the Armenians of Artsakh must recognize the authority of the government of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan. On February 10, 1919, the 4th Congress of the Armenians of Artsakh, with the participation of 84 deputies, started its activities in Shushi. Discussing many urgent issues facing the people, the Congress made a number of very important decisions. In particular, the Congress unanimously decided on the relations between Artsakh and Azerbaijan. affirming not to recognize the government of Azerbaijan since Karabakh, with its almost homogeneous Armenian population, is one of the regions of Armenia and should unite with Armenia. The Congress objected to the intention of the government of Azerbaijan to consider Armenian Artsakh as its territory, stating that Artsakh had never recognized, nor would recognize the rule of the government of Azerbaijan over Artsakh. Despite the explicit decisions of these Congresses of Artsakh not to recognize the newly created Azerbaijani government, the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan never stopped its political and military pressure on Artsakh Armenians to establish its power in Artsakh, to which the Armenians of Artsakh had always responded both politically and militarily. On November 1st, 1920, Ali Mardanbek Topshibashev, head of the Azerbaijani delegation to the Paris Peace Conference, made an official appeal to Eric Drummond, the Secretary General of the League of Nations, with a request of admitting the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan into the League of Nations. Considering the request of Azerbaijan, the League of Nations rejected, arguing that Azerbaijan has never been a state before. 2. The name Azerbaijan is the name of the neighboring Persian province. And 3. Border disputes with neighboring countries do not allow Azerbaijan to accurately determine its borders. Proceeding from the negative response of the League of Nations regarding Azerbaijan's request for membership in the League of Nations, it can be stated that the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, proclaimed in 1918 and existing until 1920, was not recognized internationally. During the 23 months of the existence of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, Artsakh had never been either de facto or even de jure recognized as part of internationally unrecognized Azerbaijan. There is not a single historical basis or any legal document indicating that Artsakh had any status within the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan. Of the decisions made throughout the 10 Congresses of the Artsakh Armenians during the period from 1918 through to 1920, according to 7 of them, based on the principle of self-determination of nations, Artsakh, among other things, is an independent political entity, while according to the decisions of the 1st and the 9th Congresses, Artsakh had proclaimed itself as an integral part of the Republic of Armenia. On April 28, 1920, the 11th Division of the Red Army of Soviet Russia entered Baku without any resistance and established Soviet hegemony in Azerbaijan. The last and 10th Congress of the Artsakh Armenians was called on May 26, 1920, in the village of Nerkin Tagavart, in the Varanda province of Artsakh, during which the majority of deputies present were Bolsheviks. Considering the political situation in Artsakh and in the region, the Congress decided to proclaim Soviet rule in Artsakh, whereas Azerbaijan, created by Ottoman Turkey, through the invasion of the Turkish army in the Transcaucasus, and appropriated the name of the neighboring northeast region of Iran, and which was not recognized internationally, did not stop its illegal claims against Artsakh, even after the establishment of Soviet rule. On November 29, 1920, Soviet rule was established in the Republic of Armenia. Nariman Narimanov, chairman of the Soviet Azerbaijani Revolutionary Committee, sent a congratulatory message on the occasion of the establishment of Soviet rule in Armenia, stating that on November 30th, the Revolutionary Committee of the Soviet Socialist Republic of Azerbaijan had adopted a decree which declared, as of today, border disputes between Armenia and Azerbaijan are resolved. Nagorno-Karabakh, Zangezur, and Nakhichevan are recognized as part of the Socialist Republic of Armenia. The Armenian translation of the aforementioned decree of the Revolutionary Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan, signed by the chairman of the Revolutionary Committee, Nariman Narimanov, and People's Commissar of Foreign Affairs, Mirza Husseinov, was published on December 7, 1920, in the second issue of the Yerevan newspaper, The Communist. On the occasion of the Sovietization of Armenia on December 1, 1920, the chairman of the Revolutionary Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan, Nariman Narimanov, issued a declaration to a certain extent, amending the decree of the Revolutionary Committee of Azerbaijan, which was adopted just a day before, on November 30, 1920. In particular, in this declaration, Narimanov stated that the provinces of Zangezur and Nakhichevan are integral parts of Soviet Armenia, and the tolling peasantry of Nagorno-Karabakh are given the full right to self-determination. The next day, on December 2nd, the declaration was published in the 178th issue of the Baku Russian-language newspaper, The Communist. On December 4, 1920, Joseph Stalin, member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia, on the occasion of the establishment of Soviet rule in Armenia, published a telegram in the Moscow Communist newspaper and an article in the Pravda newspaper, in which he stated in particular that Soviet Azerbaijan has voluntarily renounced the disputed provinces and gave Zangezur, Nakhichevan and Nagorno-Karabakh to Soviet Armenia. Based on the declaration of the Revolutionary Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan, dated December 1, 1920, and the agreement reached between the governments of the Soviet republics of Armenia and Azerbaijan, Alexander Myasnikyan, chairman of the Council of People's Commissars of Soviet Armenia, signed a decree on June 12, 1921, stating that Nagorno-Karabakh is now an inseparable part of Soviet Armenia. The decree was published on June 19, 1921, in the Yerevan newspaper Soviet Armenia. On June 22nd of the same year, the document was also published in a Baku Russian-language newspaper. On June 27, 1921, the Presidium of the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia decided to call an extraordinary plenary session concerning the borders of the Transcaucasian republics. On July 4, 1921, the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia convened a plenary session in Tbilisi, which, in addition to 8 members of the Bureau, was also attended by Joseph Stalin, member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia. The agenda of the session, among a number of other issues, also touched upon the issue of Artsakh. As a result of discussions and voting, a decision was made to include the Nagorno-Karabakh into Soviet Armenia. However, the next day, on July 5th, a new decision was made on Artsakh, which stated the following. First, based on the necessity to establish peace between Muslims and Armenians, the economic ties between Lower and Upper Karabakh, and the permanent ties of Nagorno-Karabakh with Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh will be left within the borders of Soviet Azerbaijan by granting it broad regional autonomy, with the administrative center as the city of Shushi. Second, instruct the Central Committee of Azerbaijan to define the borders of the autonomous region and submit it to the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia for approval. Judging by the declassified minutes of the plenary session of the Caucasian Bureau held on July 5th, we can insist that there had been neither a new discussion nor vote as such on the issue of Artsakh. Actually, despite the fact that at the session of the Caucasian Bureau of the Communist Party on July 4th, after discussions and voting, a decision was made to include Nagorno-Karabakh in Soviet Armenia. On July 5th, it was decided to include Nagorno-Karabakh within the boundaries of Soviet Azerbaijan, without any discussion and voting on the question. Thus, Nagorno-Karabakh, which was recognized as an integral part of Soviet Armenia by the decision of the Revolutionary Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan, adopted on November 30, 1920, and which was declared as an inseparable part of Soviet Armenia by the decree of the Council of People's Commissars of Soviet Armenia, adopted on June 12, 1921, was included within the boundaries of Soviet Azerbaijan by a decision made by the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia, a body of the political party of a third country, having no legal powers to address regional issues, while this issue was neither discussed nor voted on, and therefore was neither adopted nor legitimate in essence. Given the above, it can be argued that by the illegal decision of the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia, made on July 5, 1921, the territory of Artsakh was forcibly annexed to Soviet Azerbaijan, without taking into account the will of the people of Artsakh. After a 2-year delay in the establishment of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, on July 7, 1923, the Central Executive Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan adopted a resolution on the creation of an autonomous region of the Armenian part of Nagorno-Karabakh within the territory of Soviet Azerbaijan. The government of Soviet Azerbaijan, in violation of the already illegal decision, which was neither discussed nor voted on at the session of the Caucasian Bureau of July 5, 1921, formed the autonomous region only on part of the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, deliberately leaving the Shalmyan, Karvajar, Kashatagh, Akhna, Kashunik, Kovsagan, Jiragan, and Varanda provinces, and a number of other territories out of the borders of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, which are geographically and historically part of Nagorno-Karabakh. These territories, which are currently occupied by Azerbaijan, are de jure inseparable parts of the constitutionally enshrined territory of the Republic of Artsakh. Those territories were to become part of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region by the neither discussed nor voted on, but still adopted, illegitimate decision of the session held on July 5, 1921. The authorities of Soviet Azerbaijan made the map of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region in a way to deprive Artsakh of any land border with Armenia. To do so, by the decision of the Central Executive Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan on July 7, 1923, a Kurdish province of Red Kurdistan was established in the territory located between Soviet Armenia and the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region. After the abolition of Red Kurdistan on April 8, 1929, the Soviet Azerbaijan provinces of Karvajar, Lachin, and Kubadlu were established on this territory. In fact, the government of Soviet Azerbaijan, by the decree of July 7, 1923, annexed most of the northern, southern, eastern, and western parts of Artsakh to the territory of Soviet Azerbaijan, without taking into consideration the opinion of the people of Artsakh. On August 30, 1991, the Supreme Council of the Republic of Azerbaijan adopted a declaration on the restoration of the state independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan, thereby declaring Azerbaijan's secession from the USSR. On October 18th of the same year, the Supreme Council of the Republic of Azerbaijan adopted the Constitutional Act on the restoration of the state independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Both in the declaration and in the Constitutional Act, Azerbaijan renounced the succession of Soviet Azerbaijan and declared that it had restored the independence of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, which was proclaimed before May 28, 1918, and lasted until April 28, 1920, and now it is the legal successor of that republic. Having adopted the Constitutional Act and the Declaration in 1991 on the restoration of the statehood of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan as its legal successor, Azerbaijan, in fact, declared that it had restored an internationally unrecognized state, of which Artsakh had never been a part of in any status. By renouncing the legal succession of Soviet Azerbaijan by the Constitutional Act on the restoration of the state independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan, adopted on October 18, 1991, Azerbaijan had essentially declared invalid all the legal acts adopted in the Soviet period concerning Azerbaijan. In fact, by the above-mentioned Constitutional Act, the Republic of Azerbaijan repealed the neither discussed nor voted on, but still adopted, illegal decision made by the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia at its session on July 5, 1921, to attach, but in reality to annex, Artsakh to Soviet Azerbaijan. Based on the law of the USSR of April 3, 1990, on the procedure for resolving questions related to the secession of Union republics from the USSR, and in particular according to Article 3 thereof, which allowed the peoples of autonomous formations to independently decide their own state and legal status in case of secession of a Union republic from the USSR, on September 2, 1991, the joint session of the People's Deputies of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region and Shalmyan Regional Councils, with the participation of deputies of all levels, proceeding from the fact that Azerbaijan, when seceding from the USSR, had declared its independence, restoring the state established in years from 1918 to 1920, adopted the Declaration on the Proclamation of the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. More than 3 months later, on December 10, 1991, a referendum on the independence of the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic was held in Artsakh, with the participation of 82.2% of citizens with the right to vote, and in the presence of international observers. 99.89% of residents voted for the independence of the Republic of Artsakh. Considering the sequence of steps taken by the Artsakh Armenians for declaring the independence of the Republic of Artsakh, we can say that the legal process of proclaiming Artsakh as a republic on September 2, 1991, as well as declaring the proclaimed state as independent based on the expression of the will of Artsakh Armenians in a nationwide referendum held on December 10th of the same year, was carried out in accordance and strict compliance with the requirements of international and Soviet legislation. It should be noted that unlike Artsakh, Azerbaijan held its referendum on secession from the USSR on December 29, 1991, just 8 days following the collapse of the USSR. The point is that leaders of 11 out of 15 Soviet republics signed the Almaty Declaration in Kazakhstan on December 21, 1991, announcing the collapse of the USSR and the establishment of the Commonwealth of Independent States, while in Azerbaijan, the referendum on independence was held 8 days after this event. In fact, the independence referendum held by Azerbaijan was completely meaningless, since the state from which it wanted to withdraw, according to USSR legislation, no longer existed. Neither the people of the Republic of Artsakh nor ethnic Armenians living on the territory of Azerbaijan took part in the referendum on Azerbaijan's independence, as the people of the Republic of Artsakh had already held their referendum on independence, while some ethnic Armenians living on the territory of Azerbaijan suffered genocide planned and executed by the Azerbaijani authorities on a state level, and most of them had already left their homes, escaping from the genocide. The fact that Artsakh Armenians did not participate in the referendum on independence held in Azerbaijan 8 days after the collapse of the USSR on December 29, 1991, is yet further proof of the indisputable fact that Artsakh has never been part and cannot be part of an independent Azerbaijan under any status. Thus, Azerbaijan gained its de jure independence as a result of the adoption of the Almaty Declaration on December 21, 1991, while concurrently the Republic of Artsakh was already an independent state for almost 4 months. The representatives of the highest leadership of Azerbaijan declared on multiple occasions that the United Nations has recognized the territorial integrity of Azerbaijan, and accordingly, Artsakh is recognized as an integral part of Azerbaijan. According to the UN Charter and the regulations of the UN General Assembly and the Security Council, it can be stated that the UN, unlike the non-existent League of Nations, has no legal power to recognize state borders or the territorial integrity of a state. On January 14, 1992, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Ayaz Mutalibov, formally wrote to the UN Secretary-General requesting Azerbaijan's admission into the UN. In the request, the President of Azerbaijan stated in particular that Azerbaijan has gained its independence, which the country had lost in April 1920. Informing the UN Secretary-General about the restoration of independence lost in April 1920, the President of Azerbaijan had, in essence, informed the global community that Azerbaijan had restored an internationally unrecognized statehood, to which Artsakh had never been a part of under any status. In response to Azerbaijan's request, on March 2, 1992, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution on the admission of Azerbaijan to the UN. The examination of all the above-mentioned documents adopted by the UN on Azerbaijan's accession clearly shows that the UN has never considered in any format an issue of recognizing the borders of the Republic of Azerbaijan or its territorial integrity. Based on the request of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan of January 14, 1992, addressed to the UN Secretary-General for admission in the United Nations, and the resolution of the UN General Assembly of March 2, 1992, on admitting Azerbaijan in the UN, one may point out that Azerbaijan had become a UN member without the Artsakh Republic. It should also be noted that on March 2, 1992, when Azerbaijan joined the UN, the Republic of Artsakh had already been an independent state for 6 months. Summarizing the analysis based on historical and legal facts and documents, we can insist on the following. First, since 1813 until the revolution in Russia in 1917, Artsakh was an administrative, territorial unit within the borders of the Russian Empire. 2. According to 7 decisions of the 10 Congresses of Artsakh Armenians, exercising the functions of the legislative branch of power, which were adopted in the period from 1918 to 1920, and which were based on the principle of self-determination of nations, Artsakh had constituted an independent political entity, and, according to the decisions of the 1st and 9th Congresses, Artsakh proclaimed itself an integral part of the Republic of Armenia. As an independent political entity, Artsakh had an executive branch of power, represented first by the Inter-Party Bureau, then by the Artsakh People's Government, and then by the Armenian National Council of Karabakh. 3. De jure or de facto, Artsakh has never been part of an independent state called Azerbaijan. 4th, the state named Azerbaijan was created by the regime of Ottoman Turkey due to the Turkish army invasion of the Transcaucasus on May 28, 1918. The name of the neighboring northeastern province of Iran was chosen as the name for the newly created state. 5th, the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, proclaimed in 1918 and which existed until 1920, has never been recognized at the international level. On December 1, 1920, the League of Nations officially rejected the request of Azerbaijan on admission to the League of Nations on the grounds that Azerbaijan had never formally constituted a state, had appropriated the name of a province in neighboring Persia, and had border disputes with neighboring states, which made it impossible to accurately define Azerbaijan's borders. 6th, by the decision of the Revolutionary Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan, adopted on November 30, 1920, Nagorno-Karabakh was recognized as part of Soviet Armenia. 7th, by the decree of Alexander Myasnikian, chairman of the Council of People's Commissars of Soviet Armenia, adopted on June 12, 1921, Nagorno-Karabakh was Sovietized on May 26, 1920, and declared as an inseparable part of Soviet Armenia. 8th, Artsakh, which was recognized as an integral part of Soviet Armenia by the decision of the Revolutionary Committee of Soviet Azerbaijan, dated November 30, 1920, and declared as an inseparable part of Soviet Armenia by the decree of the Council of People's Commissars of Soviet Armenia, adopted on June 12, 1921, without taking into consideration the opinion of the people of Artsakh, was annexed to Soviet Azerbaijan without discussion or vote, and consequently neither adopted nor legitimate decision of the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia, with no legal powers to address territorial issues. 9th, the government of Soviet Azerbaijan, in violation of this already illegal decision, formed an autonomous region only on part of the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, deliberately leaving the Shamyan, Karvajar, Kashatagh, Akhna, Govsakan, Kashunik, Jiragan, and Varanda provinces, and a number of other territories out of the borders of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Region, which are geographically and historically areas of Nagorno-Karabakh. 10th, the government of Soviet Azerbaijan, by decree on July 7, 1923, annexed most of the northern, southern, eastern, and western parts of Artsakh to the territory of Soviet Azerbaijan, without taking into consideration the opinion of the people of Artsakh. 11th, on May 12, 1994, after the establishment of a trilateral ceasefire agreement between Artsakh, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, some territories of the eastern part of Martagert and Martuni regions, and the former Shamyan region of the Republic of Artsakh, covering a total area of 1,041 square kilometers and making almost 9% of the constitutionally enshrined territory of the Republic of Artsakh, remained under the occupation of Azerbaijan. 12th, by grossly violating the principles of peaceful settlement of disputes and refraining from the threat or use of force laid down in the OSCE Final Act, adopted in Helsinki on August 1, 1975, Azerbaijan occupied approximately 75% of the constitutionally enshrined territory of the Republic of Artsakh as a result of the third military aggression unleashed on September 27, 2020, against the Republic of Artsakh with the help of mercenary terrorists and Turkey. 13th, as a result of three aggressive wars unleashed against the Republic of Artsakh, Azerbaijan occupied approximately 84% of the constitutionally enshrined territory of the Republic of Artsakh. 14th, Azerbaijan has renounced the legal succession of Soviet Azerbaijan by the Declaration on the Restoration of the State Independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan, adopted on August 30, 1991, and by the Constitutional Act on the Restoration of the State Independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan, adopted on October 18th of the same year, thus restoring an internationally unrecognized statehood named the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, which existed from May 28, 1918 until April 28, 1920, to which Artsakh had never been a part under any status. 15th, by renouncing the legal succession of Soviet Azerbaijan and announcing itself as the legal successor of the internationally unrecognized Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, which existed during the years of 1918 to 1920, both by virtue of the declaration and by the Constitutional Act. Azerbaijan, in essence, has revoked all the legal acts adopted in the Soviet period concerning Azerbaijan. In fact, by adopting the documents referred to above, the Republic of Azerbaijan repealed the neither discussed nor voted on, but still adopted, illegal decision made by the Caucasian Bureau of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Soviet Russia at its session on July 5, 1921, and reality moved to annex Artsakh to Soviet Azerbaijan. 16th, the Supreme Council of Azerbaijan falsified the main document on the establishment of the Republic of Azerbaijan by declaring obviously fake information about the international recognition of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan in the Declaration on the Restoration of the State Independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Considering this fact, we can insist on the fact that the Republic of Azerbaijan, the legal successor of the internationally unrecognized Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan, is a fake state. 17th, the legal process of proclaiming Artsakh as a republic on September 2, 1991, as well as declaring the proclaimed state as independent, according to the expression of the will of Artsakh Armenians in a nationwide referendum held on December 10th of the same year, was carried out in accordance and strict compliance with the requirements of international and USSR legislation. 18th, the circumstance that Armenians of Artsakh did not participate in the meaningless referendum on independence held in Azerbaijan 8 days after the collapse of the USSR on December 29, 1991, is another proof of the indisputable fact that Artsakh has never been and cannot be part of an independent Azerbaijan under any status. 19th, according to the UN Charter and the regulations of the UN General Assembly and the Security Council, it can be stated that the UN, unlike the non-existent League of Nations, has no legal power of recognizing the state borders or territorial integrity of a state. 20th, the examination of all the documents adopted by the UN on Azerbaijan's accession in the UN clearly shows that the UN has never considered, in any format, an issue of recognizing the borders of the Republic of Azerbaijan or its territorial integrity. 21st, the President of Azerbaijan, informing the UN Secretary-General about the restoration of independence lost in April 1920, in his request of January 14, 1992, addressed to the UN Secretary-General for membership of Azerbaijan in the UN, informed the global community that Azerbaijan had restored an internationally unrecognized statehood to which Artsakh had never been a part in any status. 22nd, according to the request of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan of January 14, 1992, addressed to the UN Secretary-General for admission in the United Nations, and the resolution of the UN General Assembly of March 2, 1992, on admitting Azerbaijan in the UN, Azerbaijan had become a UN member without the Republic of Artsakh. 23rd, the territorial claims of Azerbaijan on the Republic of Artsakh have neither historical nor legal grounds. And finally, 24th, it will be impossible to resolve the Azerbaijan-Artsakh conflict, neither in the foreseeable nor in the distant future, unless direct negotiations are held between Artsakh and Azerbaijan. solely based on legal facts and documents related to the settlement of this conflict.